reason, not their own hardships or foresight. Due to bad weather, the fishermen have not been able to put to sea for the past few days. All the oars and mast were taken on land, and therefore the burden is now more than usual. Moorings are loosened, the men give their allotted places the sign of the cross. They must have God's blessing before they sail for the deep. It was a sign of good luck if all went well with the first launching of the season, and a sign of providence and good catch if the boat launched smoothly in the morning. This embracing of man and boat is a trial of strength, and it is the prime requirement of a good fisherman to have a strong pair of arms. The boat is launched from the whalebone rows. This morning, like all other mornings, will they return again this evening? It's always been the ambition of young, healthy men to get a place on a boat. For 1,000 years, poor farmers' sons, as well as those of better families, have grown up and been hardened from working at sea. Fishing was both their ambition and a sign of their manhood. The fisherman's prayer gives these men the fearlessness and strength to face that which is to come.
Þú þekkir bestar hættur sem og voru litla skipbúnar eru af óstöðugum sjávarinn. En sé það til náðugur vilji að þessi reisa sé úr síðasta dauðaganga að gefa oss öllum velviðbúnu að mæta voru síðasta. Í þínum höndum vårt líf. Amen.
The crew is like one body, and this body has but one head controlling everything on board. Ahead lies 3 to 4 hours non-stop rowing to the fishing ground, depending on where the helmsman has decided to lay his lines.
Jesus.
Here, at the outpost of the civilized world, 1,000 years' habitation have depended on these small boats going to fish whenever the opportunity presented itself. The helmsman sees that it's now mid-morning as he reads the heavens, the mountains and the sea, just as he would an open book. The closeness to nature gives these men the feeling that they are at one with her. So much so they feel they can affect nature, just as she affects them. No wonder then that the bishop warns of the growing power of Satan, accusing them of calling on the Almighty only when danger threatens.
Generous hand, and bless us in our search, that we may partake of thy generous bounty from the deep. Give us this day a glad heart and thankfulness for that which is allotted to us.
These men live in a religious world. Each man goes to work as if under monastic ordinance. The actions of this day endlessly repeat those of past centuries. Here there is no force to bring about change. The purpose of the fishing is to receive the gifts of God, His everlasting riches. helmsman trusts no one but himself to lay the lines. Laying them where he thinks the fishing is best, he and his men must be perfectly coordinated. The fisherman must row neither too fast nor too slowly in the direction dictated by the helmsman. Today, over 30 lines must be laid, and the baler is responsible for joining them correctly. In their oars. Despite the freezing cold. This basic need isn't even worth mentioning. Farmers can own a boat. This prevents others on board from using fishing to be their own masters. Their job is to wait and obey. Man must bend to the will of God, who causes all things to be. Never
As it gets colder, the
back on
helmsman sings songs that get lustier and bawdier as the cold gets greater.
Agents are travelling between fishing stations. They bear the message that the quality and sorting of the fish must improve. Fish according to the traditions of past ages. In these men's world, there's no force which will make them cease their age-old daily. The helmsman, on the other hand, and the farmer who employs the workers here on board, need the income to be able to keep their staff and run their farms. Otherwise, they know little of the power of money to change their situation. Contact with nature enhances the excitement and expectation on board. Hauling in the lines is work for strong men with great stamina. Old Christian from Dranka knows how to haul without tiring himself too much. One or two catfish are caught by chance and are appropriately dealt with. Midshipmen Rögnvaldur and Jostein need to work quickly in order to stow the line. Rögnvaldur has now shaken off his seasickness since the weather has greatly improved since noon. Although fishing is a secondary occupation in the Icelandic rural society, only pursued in winter when there's least to do on the farms, fish is nevertheless the main export commodity and has been so since the Middle Ages. It would be wise for the envoys of capitalism, Gunnar Sigurdsson and Gunnar Hallsson, to watch their step in this forbidding territory, so they succeed in bringing their tidings to the fishing station this evening. Sailing is the peak of happiness, followed by sleeping in the arms of a maiden, and lastly riding a willing horse. Gunnar is an artist at the helm, a skill which is seldom perfected, but acquired gradually by observation and practice.
Water's gotta be freezing.
It's an unwritten rule that men never walk past a capstan when a boat approaches without giving the wheel a turn. This rule is never broken. Once again, the men are safe back in harbour as another day at the fishing station turns to evening. Jarþrúður prepares to welcome the men. She's often had a more worrisome wait than today. Nevertheless, she's always relieved when her men return safe to land. The lines are hung up to dry on the drying frames if the frost is not too severe. Before the shore work starts, swallow like the cane sugar lump with Jarþrúður's shore coffee. New ideas concerning product quality are unenthusiastically received at first. The men refer to their forefathers' methods. These demands are as a result of increased productivity and growing competition between saltfish producing nations. Therefore, the company has decided to send a circular to all those captains who have had dealings with the company. The letter contains some advice concerning methods to improve the curing process, thereby increasing the fish's value. This gospel of capitalism does not seem much as it appears in this letter, but thus begins the change from their rural society to the market economy of the future. The company's agents show a great interest in how the catches worked here at the fishing station. They have by now informed the fishermen of the complaints of the Spanish buyers, who say that carelessness in the treatment of the fish is increasing in Iceland. This is therefore a serious business. Kristin feels it slightly odd that the merchants should be encouraging higher quality, if anyone has contributed to working against the ideas of the agents. These men work as their forefathers, according to old traditions, not caring to make a profit. They're not always thinking that extra care and grading makes for a higher price. Sigmundur, who splits the fish along with Kristin, is a landman here at the station, although he sometimes rows as a stand-in at various fishing stations.
That's how they're carrying the fish. They've just processed into the salting room.
Merchants get good quality saltfish, and this should be possible. They say the fish should have no more than 1 good barrel of salt per ship's pound of the finished product. The helmsman says he's aware of that, adding that larger, fatter fish is salted more than the others, and he tries to keep larger fish together. It doesn't take a specialist to point out something so obvious.
9 o'clock at night.
They are tired men who now sit down to eat in the fishing station's loft at the end of a long working day. The helmsman was right when he forecast bad weather that evening, and now it's uncertain whether they will row tomorrow. But the crew always find something to occupy them between trips, such as Kristin, who is spinning a new snood for his line. Fishermen bring with them the farmer's culture to the fishing station, and in the spring take their experience from the sea back home with them. Thus the tasks of both sea and land strengthen the inner core of their society and enrich its culture. It is true that fishermen are not as tied down as those who work on the land, and often have freedom for reflection and recreation. And now that they have been offered the opportunity to profit by thinking more of quality and the market, it's only a matter of time before they break the 1,000-year cycle of endlessly repeated days and usher in a new age of change. How and when this new age will come, Gunnar Leosson and Jón Guðbjartsson cannot guess, but sensitive as they are to God's creation, They feel the time is close at hand.